So if your phone pinged right now with a message from me, and you opened up your WhatsApp and you saw a poll that looked like this, how would you answer that question? I'm asking you, at which point in your life were you the most content? So I want you to think back to a time in your life when you were your most content. Okay, was it in infancy when you were still drinking mother's milk? Okay, was it in the awkward teens when you were popping zits? Was it when you were 18, finally, young and free, baby? Or was it in your 30s, man? 30s is where it's at. Or was it today? Are you most content now? Okay, so I want you to answer the poll. Okay, get out your phone. I can see it's blue tick. You got it. Get out your phone and lock in your number. I'll lock in your vote there. I'll give you a few seconds. What's it going to be? Mother's milk, zits, 18, 30s, or today? Okay, a few more seconds. Are you all in? You locked in? Okay, good. Thanks, Andre. Okay, 3, 2, votes are closing, 1. Okay, let's have a look at the results. Thank you for voting. There you go. Okay, so at what point in your life were you most content? Okay, some of you want to take it right back there when you were nursing. That's bound to just be men. They're 23. And then a number of, they're the freaks, eh? They're the freaks, they're the teens. I know you guys, you like the popping thing. It gives you some satisfaction. That made you content. Only 5 of you, I'm not surprised there. And then the vast majority, 18, baby, young and free, out of school, the world is your oyster, that's the place. No attachments, nothing. The world is just laid before you. That's the place to be, okay? Some of you saying 30s is where it's at, and just a few of you there, third place, I think, 39 votes are saying today I'm the most content. Thank you for voting. Appreciate your involvement there. So in terms of accumulated wealth and possessions and stuff and houses and cars and all these kind of things and your bank account, when would you say you had the most stuff? Would you agree with me that you have had the most stuff you've ever had in your life at this point right now? Okay, most of us have accumulated stuff over time, more and more as we go. Unless you had a real financial setback, it's likely that you have the most stuff you have ever had right now. Even if you did go through a bit of a bump, it's likely that you have more stuff now than you did when you were 18 years of age. Correct? Everybody with me? Now, if money buys happiness and success is measured by the size of your bank account, and if the one with the biggest house is the happiest, and if luxury is the ultimate freedom, and if wealth is the scoreboard of life, and if you're only as important as the car you drive, and if he who dies with the most toys wins, and if we have the most stuff we have ever had right now, why didn't option 5 get the most votes? Why wasn't it 200 votes on today? Today I am most content because surely you have the most stuff you've ever had. But no, many of us, I know that was fake. Okay, I know. But if you thought about it, if you really thought about it, you would probably say that's probably where the votes would end up. You would say back then when you didn't have a lot of stuff, you were carefree. The world was your oyster. There was so much to look forward to. No bills to pay. No stuff having a hold on you. You would probably say at 18, you were the most content in your life, except for the weirdos in the first 2 categories. But why is that? Why is it that we had the most peace and the most contentment when you have no stuff? Because from the age of 18, from early adulthood, we start to get pulled in to this thing where we must have more stuff. We've got to accumulate more wealth. We've got to get more stuff. And a lot of our financial decision-making gets driven by this one word, and that is discontentment. Discontentment. Everybody say discontentment. I want you to remember that one word, and I'm going to give you one other. So if discontentment is the thing that drives you and drives your financial habits and your spending habits, then the fuel in that vehicle is this one word: awareness. Everybody say awareness. Over here say discontent. Over here say awareness. Over here say discontent. Over here say awareness. If you fall asleep right now, just remember those two words. That's all I want you to take from this morning: discontentment and awareness. Now, your discontentment is fueled by your awareness. It's only when you become aware of something else, something better, something bigger, something faster, something shinier, only then do you become discontent with what you currently have. Awareness fuels discontentment. Discontentment is the reason that you have thousands of rands owing on a credit card because you bought stuff you wanted but couldn't afford. Discontentment is the reason your bond repayments are choking your finances because you bought a house you wanted but couldn't afford. Discontentment is the reason you're paying several $100 more for a cell phone contract because you upgraded but you didn't need it. Andy Stanley has a simple definition for discontentment that goes like this: discontentment is the dissatisfaction you have with what you have. You know, until that awareness of something better snuck in, you were content. You had contentment. You were happy with your phone until someone showed you their shiny new iPhone 16 Pro. Ooh, I want it. It looks good. You were happy with your house until you walked in and you saw the high ceilings and the massive glass stack-away doors leading onto the entertainment area overlooking the river. Oh, I want that. You were happy with your t-shirt from AC Kermans until someone walked up at the bra with this golf shirt that had a little crocodile on it. Huh? Oh, I want that. It looks good. You were happy cramming your whole family into your car that resembles a quarter loaf until the Mercedes-Benz Vito pulled up into the car park and everybody hopped out with smiling faces and really white teeth. I want that. That's something that I want. The moment we become aware of something bigger and better and shinier and faster, we want it. Did you know that there was a time when people used stuff until it broke? Can you believe it? They used stuff until it broke, and if it broke, they would fix it, and then they'd keep using it afterwards. No! Can you believe it? Unbelievable. People used to use stuff while it still worked. They just used to keep using it because it was still working. Unbelievable. There was a time when you only replaced your TV set if it blew up or caught a light. Now you replace it because it's 10 inches smaller and 2 centimeters wider than the one they've got at Macro on special. I want that one. You used to walk around with a phone that had more cracks than contacts. Okay? Now you've got 3 in the drawer just waiting as spares in case the one you currently got packs up. Your hatchback was fine until you saw the sedan. Your sedan was fine until you saw the SUV. Your SUV was fine until you saw the Hilux. The Hilux was fine until... Hilux was fine. Upgrade culture, right? Upgrade culture. We're always looking for the next best thing. And it's different for all of us. For some of us, it's tech. For some of us, it's cars. For some of us, it's houses, or it's shoes, or it's books, or it's appliances. And I get it. I live in the same world. I also want it. I also want the new shiny thing. I'm drawn into by this culture of just upgrading, just wanting more stuff. The moment we find out that there's something new on the market, whatever your little niche is, what do? You're straight on the internet. You're researching. How can I get this thing? How much does it cost? What color does it come in? When can it be delivered? I want it. I need to have this thing. Am I speaking to anyone in the house today? We want it so badly. We just want this stuff. Do you know what we call this desire? An appetite. How many of you have ever satisfied an appetite? I have. I did it this morning. Actually, I didn't. I haven't eaten breakfast. But every other morning, I satisfy my appetite. 7 a.m., let's say, I eat breakfast, and then it lasts about 6 hours. 1 o'clock, I have to eat again. And then 7 o'clock, I have to eat again. Then it gives me 12 hours, but then the whole process starts again. Because you can never fully and finally satisfy an appetite. The result is more stuff and more stuff and more stuff as our awareness fuels our discontentment and our discontentment drives us to consumption. Just less than 2,000 years ago, Paul addressed this very thing in the first letter to Timothy. In 1 Timothy 6, verses 6 to 9, it says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain." Now, immediately, there's a contrast in Paul's thinking of what great gain is. Great gain to us is a salary increase. Great gain to us is a new flat screen TV. Great gain to us is a duck egg blue Smeg toaster. Great gain is all these things that we want to just accumulate in the world. But Paul's saying, whoa, let's redefine great gain here. Great gain in this life is godliness, which means a life surrendered to God, becoming who God wants you to be, being more and more like God. And then we combine that with contentment, being happy with what you have, seeing the new and shiny and faster and brighter thing and saying, that's cool, I'm happy for you, but I'm happy with what I have. That's contentment. And when we combine godliness and contentment, Paul says that is great gain. Here's why that's a really good argument. If you look at the next verse, it starts with the word "for," which means he's going to explain what he just said in the previous verse. So it says, verse 7, "For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it." So if great gain is all about acquiring stuff, just getting more and more stuff, then when we die and we leave it all here, as this verse says, and as we know to be true, if any of you who have had someone pass away around you, you will know that their stuff was still there when they were gone. Our stuff stays here. We know that. So if it was all about just getting stuff, then it means by the end of our life, when we leave, we've gained nothing. We've gained absolutely nothing if everything just stays here. It reminds me of the man who went to the wealthy banker's funeral, and he elbowed his butt and he said, "Oh, how much do you think he left behind?" And the guy says, "Well, all of it." The reason great gain has more to do with your relationship with God and your contentment with what you have is because you are going to leave everything here anyway. So Paul says, I need you guys to begin rethinking this whole acquisition of wealth thing. We need to have a look at it. We need to be re-looking at this thing. Verse 80 says, "But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that." Those who want to get rich, that means those who want to live richly beyond their means, those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. If you've got outstanding credit card debt because of some retail therapy, you've fallen into the trap. If you're paying rent on a 4-bedroom house, but you're only filling 2 of those rooms, you've fallen into the trap. If you have subscriptions to Netflix and Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus and Amazon Prime and Showmax and DSTV and all the works, but you don't have money to tithe, you have fallen into the trap. And what fate awaits those people? Paul says ruin and destruction. He doesn't say some of you who are pursuing riches, some of you who are pursuing this rich life. He doesn't say that maybe you will fall into ruin and destruction. He lays out a simple formula. It's a 1 + 1 = 2. If you want to live a rich lifestyle beyond your means, you will fall into the trap of making the kinds of foolish decisions that plunge people into ruin and destruction. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, are we going to keep pursuing consumption, or are we going to switch to pursuing contentment? Maybe James, the brother of Jesus, is going to help you make up your mind. Let's see here. James 5, verse 1. "Now listen, you rich people." Okay, let's pause there because I lost some of you. let's just set the record straight as to who of you are rich in this room, okay? Rich people have fridges full of food and cupboards full of clothes and stand in front of both of them and say, I have nothing to eat. I have nothing to wear. Rich people have houses with a room for every person and a room for every car. Rich people get a paid holiday every year. You get paid to lie on the beach. Rich people pay other people to cut their grass, walk their dogs, and clean their pools. Rich people pay to exercise at gyms, and then they try and find the parking closest to the door. Rich people water their gardens with drinking water, and then they go to the shop and they buy bottled water, even though there's water coming out the tap for free. Okay, so now listen, you rich people. Weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted, and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. I want you to picture this scene. Scores and scores of people standing before the pearly gates, each with a sack over their shoulder, carrying their wealth and their possessions, everything they've accumulated their whole life. And one by one, they come before the gates and they lay down their sack with everything, and someone starts going through it. Now imagine it's your turn. And you come forward and you drop a sack and you open up there, and St. Peter's like rifling through there, and he's just chucking out stuff. And you're like, dude, that's like my gaming PC, bro. That thing is like spec to the max, man. You see the light and it's a beast. What do you think you're doing? How can you just throw that away? Or you're like, hey, excuse me. That is my pair of Jimmy Choo's shoes from the spring-summer collection of 2019. I'll have you know. What are you doing? Or you're like, hey, that's my 24-karat gold rings. What are you doing? I work whole life for this. I kill you. But St. Peter just looks up and says, yes, you worked your whole life for this stuff. And look at it. Your clothes are full of holes. Your gold and silver is tarnished and corroded. Everything you own, all of your wealth, is rotten. There is absolutely no value in what you've brought here. Verse 5, you have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of slaughter. Let's talk about that last statement. James is drawing on an old cultural metaphor here. So back in the OT, the Jews used to have to, when they were having a feast, they would have to plan. They would have to really think about it, because the only thing that kept in those days was grain and wine. Nothing else, everything else would have rotted. So when they knew they were having a feast, they would select a calf, put it in a pen, overfeed it, protect it, make sure it was fine, make sure it was getting nice and plump, so that the day that the festival and the feast arrived, there could be a massive celebration. They could slaughter the calf and they could enjoy and have fun and be merry. Now, you and I, when we have a feast coming, it's Christmas Day, we hop onto the Woolies app. 2 hours later, we've got a couple of gammons in the oven and we're good. Christmas is saved. But these guys didn't have that luxury. They would have to plan and really think about it and really invest in this feast, in this celebration. So what James is cleverly saying here is that you guys think you've been saving up and you've been accumulating all your luxury and self-indulgence. You think it's going to be met with celebration. But all you've done is fattened yourselves up. And it's not going to be met with celebration. It's going to be counted against you. It'll be met with slaughter. It's heavy. James is painting a really clear picture here. He's saying that the stuff you're killing yourself to buy today will testify against you in the last days. Quiet in here. I'd love to tell you I'm done, but I'm not. More fun coming. We've heard from Paul, we've heard from James, now let's hear from Jesus. In the parable of the rich fool, Luke 12, verses 16 to 21, Jesus says, the ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. I want you to notice two things here. Firstly, this man had ground, okay? He had property. He had land. He had something already. And if the story is about an abundant harvest, that means that he also had a regular harvest. He was getting regular harvest, and he had land. So in plain English, he's okay. Okay, he's got stuff. He's all right. But now this abundance comes. So he thought to himself, what should I do? What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, this is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. Here again, let's notice that he already had storage facilities. Facilities, okay? It says barns, plural. So he had more than one barn, and we can assume that it's in very good working order because it's currently storing his grain. But what does he do? He says, I'm going to smash that thing down, and I'm going to build a bigger one, a better one, a newer one, a shinier one. It's upgrade time. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Yes. Verse 19, and I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take it easy, man. Just get comfortable. Hey, eat, drink, and be merry. Huh? Let's just enjoy, man. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? If you've ever had to clean out a house or a room or a garage of someone who has passed away, you will know firsthand that the acquisition of all this stuff is a futile exercise. The things that they thought was so important that they stacked up for years and years just hanging on to, what do you do with them? You go through and you just throw them out. You go through and you throw them out. The acquisition of wealth is really not what it's cut out to be. I was talking about myself earlier, in case you didn't know, about the cell phone thing. I'm quite a hoarder of cell phones. I don't hoard many things, but cell phones is one of them. But I went into my little stash the other day, and I found this guy like from, I don't know, it was from the days of the Rinderpest. It was the most useless thing. It was useless. I couldn't even give it away to anybody. So here I had this thing, just in case, like the fourth phone, just in case. My current one broke. I could have had a couple of extra bucks in my pocket, and someone could have been using that phone. Instead, it was completely useless by the time I actually was ready to let it go. How many other things are there in our lives that we have prepared for ourselves that have absolutely no value? Jesus concludes this parable by saying, this is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God. So here Jesus introduces something new into the mix that Paul and James didn't mention. Not only is he rebuking our desire to constantly accumulate wealth, but he's also equating it to the fact that we are being stingy towards God. Now you're probably thinking, what does my brand new, like, oh so cute country road crossbody bag have to do with being stingy towards God? Every time you make an investment in your kingdom, you're using resources that you could have invested in his kingdom. Every time we make a purchase, every time we invest in ourselves, every time we invest in our own kingdom and building our own wealth, we are taking from the resources that we could be investing in the kingdom of God. When I talk about investing in God's kingdom, I'm not talking about tithes and offerings, okay? That's not what I'm talking about here. In fact, you want to know how I actually feel about tithing? Honestly, I think it's gross. I think tithing is gross. That's why I tithe on my gross salary, not on my net. Because God is my number one. And God, that really made Andre sweat in the first service, by the way. God is my number one. God is my priority. God deserves my first fruit, not the tax man. I don't wait till all my deductions are taken off and then like, okay, I can just squeeze a percentage or two out here. No. I want to be rich towards God, but this is baseline stuff. Tithing is at the bottom. It's the building blocks. It's the mother's milk. This is the easy stuff, tithing. I'm not trying to find ways that how I can just give God enough. We need to be generous in our giving. We need to be cheerful givers. So being rich towards God has to go far beyond the tithe. In Paul's same letter to Timothy that we read from early on, he gives us some keys into what richness towards God should actually look like. So still in chapter 6, it says, command those who are rich, still you, remember, in this present world, not to be arrogant, but to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain. Sorry, to not put, what, did I say something wrong? Never mind. But to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, to be generous and willing to share. In this way, okay, that means he's just laid out a plan that's going to equal something. In this way, you will lay up treasure for them. They will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of life, of the life that is truly life. Does that language sound familiar to you there in verse 19? Lay up treasures. Have you heard someone else say that before? Jesus, Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 6. Don't store up treasures here on heaven where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven where moths and rust cannot destroy, and thieves do not break in and steal. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. Are you seeing how all these verses are confirming the same thing? Are you seeing it? From the start there, Paul says that those who pursue the accumulation of earthly treasures are headed for ruin and destruction. James takes it a step further and he says, all that worthless stuff, not only is it not good for us now, but it's going to testify against us. It'll be proof of our self-indulgent lifestyles. Jesus says that whoever stores up wealth on earth is not rich towards God. Then he says again that we are to lay up treasures in heaven and not on earth. And Paul rounds things off by saying that we are to lay up treasures in heaven. To lay up treasures in heaven, we need to do good and give generously. So if we even mash all these verses together and offer up one simple one-liner that summarizes them all, I'd say this. Start giving while you're living, because what you trust in is busy rusting. Start giving while you're living, because what you trust in is busy rusting. To be rich towards God and lay up treasures in heaven means we need to shift our hearts from this desire just to want more and more and more stuff. That's not good for us now, and that will be of no good to us later. Instead, we need to shift our hearts into investing in the only thing that we can take into eternity. And what is that? It's people, it's souls, it's relationships. That is the currency of heaven. We need to loosen our grip on the earthly treasures that we hold so tightly to, so that we can take hold of the heavenly treasures. We spoke earlier about two words. What were they? Discontentment and awareness. You're much better than the first service. They were like, what if we could leverage the power of discontentment to drive us in a different direction? Some of the darkest injustices of history only changed because someone refused to be content with the way things were. Think of William Wilberforce and the slave trade. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement. Think of Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu and many others who fought for the fall of apartheid in this country. Instead of Andy Stanley's definition of discontentment being the dissatisfaction you have with what you have, what if we changed it and said discontentment is the dissatisfaction you have with what they have or what they don't have? If we can do our best to limit our awareness of the world's push just to have more stuff, and we're bombarded by it. There's billboards and there's advertising and there's marketing and social media. Even Instagram, just looking at what your friend is doing and the holiday that they had and the car they're driving and the white teeth. It's I want that. No, if we can limit our awareness, we can limit our discontentment. If we change it, so if we can start to change that awareness to what people don't have, then I believe we'll start to see a shift in where we lay up our treasures. We will start investing our time and our resources much differently. How many of us drive past someone digging in a dustbin and barely notice them? When last have you stopped to think about how desperate that person must be to be digging in a filthy dustbin looking for food? But what do? Bzzz, bzzz. Aircon car, we drive past, and we don't even notice them. We don't even see it anymore. We've become so desensitized to poverty, especially in this country, that we are unfazed by the plight of the poor around us. We need to become discontent with that. We need to become discontent with what they have in comparison to what we have. We are a room full of rich people, possibly in the top 10% of the country's earners. I couldn't find a definitive figure, but believe me, there are many of you in this room who are in the top 10, probably worst case, top 15% of earners in South Africa. You are rich beyond your means. We have so much. We need to allow this kind of awareness to shift our thinking, to shift where we invest, to shift what we do with our finances, to shift where we are storing our treasures. We need to become discontent with the people who don't have much. Let me tell you a true story. In 1904, a young man named William Borden graduated from high school in Chicago. He was the heir to the Borden dairy fortune, worth millions in today's money. His parents gave him a trip around the world as a graduation gift. And as he traveled through Asia and the Middle East and Europe, his heart broke for the people who had never heard about Jesus. And he wrote home, "I'm going to give my life to prepare for the mission field." Friends and family thought he was throwing away his future. He had wealth, he had status, everything he could possibly want, he had. But Borden wrote in the back of his Bible 2 simple words: no reserves. He went to Yale University. Instead of chasing wealth or recognition, he led Bible studies and prayer groups that changed hundreds of lives. When he finished, he wrote 2 more words in his Bible: no retreats. Borden set sail to reach Muslims in China, stopping first in Egypt to study Arabic. But while he was there, at just 25 years old, he contracted meningitis and died. When they found his Bible after his death, there were 6 final words written on the last page: no reserves, no retreats, no regrets. William Borden never built mansions or barns. He never cashed in on the family fortune. But today his story still inspires people to surrender all to God and give everything to him, not to store up treasures on this earth, but to store them up in heaven. And that's what he did. His treasure was people. He gave his life. And that's the point that Jesus is trying to make in Matthew 6. All your stuff, all your possessions, moth and rust are going to get them. But a life surrendered to God, a life spent giving, a life spent serving, a life spent sharing the gospel, lays up treasures where rust can't reach. And that is the only investment that you'll never regret. So I want to give you 5 quick practical tips, practical steps just to shift our thinking, shift our hearts from material wealth, earthly possessions, to eternal investments. So number 1, start with the treasure audit. Okay, write down everything: your possessions, your investments, your subscriptions, your service contracts. Basically, any money that leaves your bank, write it down. You need to be knowing where your rands are going, okay? Ask yourself, what am I storing up on earth that moth and rust can destroy? What funds could you possibly redirect for kingdom impact? You know, over the last 7 weeks, 6 weeks, however long we've been doing this series, I have never scrutinized my finances so much in years. Is there anybody else who's really made some good financial decisions over the last 6 months? Like, you've given more, you've moved some stuff around. Awesome. I've been so impacted by the series. It's difficult. The Word of God makes it really difficult to be worldly. It's terrible. Okay, move some stuff around. You need to know exactly what is happening with your finances. If you don't have a budget, which you should, then you'll know all of that. But if you don't, at least just make a note. What is actually leaving your bank account every month? Okay, number 2, break the upgrade cycle. Pick one area where culture pushes you to just have that extra thing. Come on, get the next one, the better one, the bigger one. What is the area that has you? And then refuse the upgrade in that area. Bonus challenge, redirect that money again to kingdom impact, to a heavenly investment. I am happy/unhappy to report that my cell phone contract came due right in the middle of this 6-week period. Thank you, Jesus. So, although the allure of the iPhone 16 is really calling my name, I'm going to stick with my iPhone 13 and instead take out a SIM-only deal, with data and minutes and those SMSs that no one uses. So I'm going in for the next 2 years with 1/3 of the price that I was paying for my current cell phone. And in 2 years' time, we're going to be on the iPhone 19 or something, and I'm still going to be 13, 6th generation behind. And I am going to be happy and content in Jesus' name. Declaration of faith. I really wish my upgrade hadn't fallen in these 6 weeks. Give while you're living, number 3. Okay, how about starting a living legacy? Okay, it's wonderful to leave an inheritance for our kids, but how about giving your time and your resources and your talents now? Start investing now. That is the much better investment, okay? How about going through your cupboards? If you haven't worn it, if it has not been on your body in 2 years, give it away, okay? Give your jacket away, give your pants away, keep your underwear, give your socks away. Just get rid of it. If you haven't worn it in 2 years, you will not wear it again. You probably can't fit in it anyway, okay? Start fasting or give it away. Okay, that backup phone, the second backup phone for the backup of the backup phone, give it away. Give it away to someone. You don't need it anymore, okay? Guys, it's time to let the sports equipment go. The books are not going to call. I promise you, past your sell-by date. Someone needs to tell you, okay? You're 50 years old, you're not going to be a wing for the Springboks anymore. Give it up. Let someone else use that stuff, okay? Start giving now. Give now. Start giving while you're living, because what you trust in is busy rusting. Come on, let's get some stuff away. Start to serve at church. Give time. We have many professionals in the house. Once a month, offer your service to someone for free. Let's be generous. Number 4, invest in people, not things. Identify one person to mentor, disciple, or share your testimony with this week. Okay, invite someone around for a meal. Pray for a neighbor. Share your faith journey with someone. Share your story with someone at work. Number 5, get equipped for the harvest. So if you struggle with number 4, this one is for you, okay? I don't have a feather duster, so I can't do such a good job, but Andre did a wonderful job of marketing our harvest encounter coming up this Wednesday, okay? Guys, let's get there. Let's get equipped. So many of us don't even know how to share the gospel. We don't know how to share our testimony. We don't know how to engage with someone. Come along, let's be equipped to be bold and truly share the gospel. This is it. This is what it's about. This is the investment. This is the investment that God is speaking about. This is the eternal investment. When we go out and we love people and we love them into the kingdom of God, it's souls. It's all about souls. Paul's command to Timothy, he tells us to be rich, to do good, to be rich in good deeds, to be generous and willing to share. These are not optional extras. It's a command. It's a command from God that this is what we should be doing. This is how we should store up treasure in heaven. Do you know the only reason that we can even understand generosity is because of our God, the most generous God who ever lived. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he... You could have just stopped at gave. I was just looking for gave. Thanks. He gave. God gave, but well done. He gave. God gave. This is how we know how to be generous, because God gave everything. He didn't give a fraction. He didn't give a percentage. He gave it all. He gave his one and only son, the thing he loved so dear. He gave it to us. How can we hang on to that? How can we hang on to that gift? We have each received an incredible gift of salvation. Our names are written in the book of life. Let discontentment drive you. Be discontent for the fact that there are people in your workplace, there are people in your family, there are people at your sports club who do not know Jesus, whose names are not written in the book of life. Let that discontentment drive you. Be discontent with what you see around you, the mess and the dysfunction. Let's go after it. Let's do something about it. Generosity isn't just about money. It's about sending something ahead of us that lasts forever. Every time we invest eternally, it's like putting money in a heavenly bank account where there's no rust, no moth, nobody breaks in and steals. Ask yourself today, what treasure am I sending ahead? Am I hoarding here on earth? Or am I giving in a way that mirrors the generosity of God himself?